Hi, it's April with the Love and Loss Project, the online comfort and inspiration station for women who have experienced a loss of a baby, pregnancy, or child. And today I'm responding to a topic that someone had sent in via email. And they had said that they've been struggling lately with the idea of trying to figure out what it is that they want from friends and family. What kind of support is it that they want as they're navigating this life after loss? And something that they shared with me really stood out to me in their email. They had said that they'd come across this idea from somebody else who was talking about how they don't want other people to feel sorry for them. They just want those people to be able to be grateful for the blessings that they have in their life. And that kind of just hit something in me. And I guess what I want to offer is this idea. I don't know about you, but to me, that sounds like you are risking setting yourself up to get really pissed off an awful lot with the people who are around you. Because here's the thing, we do not have control over how other people feel. We just can't. And so, while it is totally understandable and while I can completely relate to where that idea comes from, the idea of saying the kind of support I would like to be able to receive in my relationships is that they're almost able to use my experience as an idea to hang on to help them become more grateful when they're kind of venting or complaining about the hard moments that they're having of parenting a new one or what it's like to have kids. And I struggle with that because here's the thing, I refuse to make my healing and my recovery dependent on how anybody else feels or what they do or don't do or how they react or don't react. I refuse to give my power and my wellness away like that. And don't get me wrong, I understand where that sentiment is coming from. When we experience a loss of a little one, I really do believe that this is one of the most socially isolating experiences we can possibly have. It's like this kind of great divide happens between those who have experienced this kind of thing and everybody else around them who possibly just kind of carry on with life as usual and who don't necessarily really understand how significant and raw and traumatic this stuff really is. I remember a couple days, I think it was like 2 days after I'd lost my little one, my partner and I decided to do an announcement on Facebook that was a way that we could really just kind of have had 30 conversations all at once instead of having to do a whole lot of phone calls to tell the story over and over again. So we wrote this announcement about basically, we said that we shared a few details and we said that we were expecting to have a baby, but we had an angel instead. And we shared the news of how our daughter was born and then passed away. And because you can kind of see how how the Facebook news feed works, I remember seeing in my news feed that a friend of mine had commented on my post, my announcement of my daughter's death, and said, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. My heart goes out to you. I'm so sorry you have to go through this," all that typical kind of stuff. And then, no more than 2 minutes later, went on to express all kinds of enthusiasm over some other kind of like meaningless, I think it was some kind of like horse training mem or something like that. And now she was all excited about that 2 minutes later. And I remember my mind kind of just like being blown. I'm like, how is that possible? That in this moment you're so devastated for me and this is so heart wrenching. And in the next moment, you just change gears and are now super excited about this meaningless shit. And I remember talking to my sister about that, and she had just said, "April, in that moment when they wrote that on your post, that was valid. But so was all the other moments too." And that's kind of a bitter pill to swallow. But what it really has made me realize, and what this discussion has got me thinking about, is unfortunately these two worlds of new baby, new parenting, newborns. I'm so busy and crazy with my toddlers right now, and you're going through grief and loss because you've just buried a child or have lost a baby or pregnancy. These worlds do not collide real well, and that's kind of nobody's fault, right? I know I'm preaching to the choir on this, and I know you already know this, but if your experience has been like mine, I had no compassion for what my friends were going through with newborns. I had no compassion. After I'd lost my little one, I didn't care that they were tired. I didn't care that they were kept up at night. I felt no sympathy at all for how busy, exhausted, overwhelmed they were. Because these were the kinds of problems I would have given my right arm to be experiencing right now. Instead of getting woken up through the night with my little ones crying, I was woken up by my own tears and by the devastation of the magnitude of this grief that we have to go through. I was woken up by the sound of absolute freaking silence in my house when there should have been a baby there. So I couldn't have cared less that my friends were tired, woken up, missing some sleep, struggling with their new roles as new moms. Couldn't care. I would have loved to have that problem. And in the same way that I didn't have a whole lot of sympathy for them, they also weren't able to have a whole lot of conversation with me at times about what I was like going through. Because nobody really wants these worlds of death and new babies to intermingle a whole lot. And so my friendships that fared well during that time were the friends that we were able to kind of just talk about anything else but. So this sounds kind of awful, but I did not ask questions about my little one's kids during that time period. I didn't ask how they were doing as new moms. I didn't ask if they needed help, because the reality is I had none of that to offer them. So we were able to still be friends by connecting to other things. And that kind of allowed our friendship to almost like drift a little bit through the darkest and hardest parts of the grief, where we could actually get to the spot down the road where now, of course, I am interested in those things. And I am genuinely, able to listen and be aware of what life is like for them. But that was a completely unrealistic expectation when I was going through the worst of the depths of my own darkness. So I want to offer you that idea to maybe just think about the fact that asking other people to be grateful for what they have is kind of just asking them to somehow be able to think about you 24/7. Because the reality is, people don't. They feel that wave of compassion. They might have that moment where that gratitude hits them. Oh my God, I'm so lucky. So and so lost their baby, but somehow I've been blessed with three. But in reality, when their kids are screaming, when their husband's annoying them, when they're worried about the bills, and when they have to go back to work, they're not thinking about you. They're just not. And it's unrealistic to expect them to. And it's not fair to have that be a thing. my hubby's sneezing his head off right now. It's not realistic to have that as an expectation. If you do, you're setting yourself up for a whole lot of frustration and overwhelm. But here's the thing. You cannot be the audience for their overwhelm. That is not okay. So if people are coming to you and you're being the sounding board for how tired they are, how stressed they are, how tough it is for them to be a no mom, what are you doing? That is so not okay to put yourself in that kind of situation. If people are having that conversation with you over and over, I'm going to bet that you are not saying boo. That you're kind of just letting that roll past you, getting madder and more upset by the second. And I've been there. I get that. I know it's really hard to speak up. But if people are talking like that around you, I think there's two things possibly at work. Either they were oblivious, and yes, I think there's some people who really are so self-absorbed that they are oblivious to who their audience is. But I think most people don't want to be a jerk. And if they're acting like that, it might be because you have sent the message or you are maintaining this posture or mask to try to pull off the idea that you are totally okay with this. When, God, how could you possibly be okay with that? So instead of trying to maintain this posture that everything is fine and that that conversation is not actually ripping out your heart, maybe risk being a little bit more open and a little bit more transparent and say, you know what? I know that this is really hard, that this puts our friendship, into this weird zone where it's almost like it's hard for us to talk about some of the parts of our life. And I'm glad that good things are happening for you, but I'm still really grieving right now, and it's really hard for me to hear about the life that I'm kind of missing out on. So I wonder if you could just kind of like, I can't really be the one to support you when you need to vent about that. I get that that's a valid need, and I get you have every right to that, but I just can't offer that to you because when you talk about how hard that is, I'm just struck by the fact that this reminds me of everything I'm losing. Because if you're not having those conversations with people, then you're not giving them the information to do something different. And if you're not giving them the information to do something different, then we don't really know which category they're in for sure. Are they being oblivious? Or are they being an absolute asshole? I don't know. Might be one of those two things. It is up to you to set your boundaries. Because if you do not give people a chance to change their behavior, then we don't really know what's happening there. So I would say you need to claim responsibility for your own healing and your own wellness and be the guardian of what you need and go to the tribe of the people who get this. Find other moms. There's various support groups in the community. I also provide one-to-one work for women to help them get through some of this really hard stuff because we need people who understand it. We need people that we don't have to work so hard to explain the depths of some of this that we don't even have words for. You need to be around safe people who get it. So find your tribe, find that safe place to land, and maybe give yourself a bit of respite and a bit of distance from the friends who are in just a really different stage than you are right now. It's not to say you can't connect with them a little bit down the road. It's not to say that your relationships have to be kind of an either or kind of thing, but it does mean that it's not okay for you to be an audience for their bad day. But go to the people who truly understand the depths of what your bad day actually looks like. And take responsibility for your own healing. And if you found this video useful, then please help me on my mission of breaking the silence and isolation surrounding baby loss and share this with someone else who may need to be a part of this conversation too. Thanks so much. Come to Love Loss Project for more tips, tools, and one-to-one support. See you there.